you've ever visited McCarter Park here in Fairhaven, or maybe skated on McCarter Pond, or driven along the tree-lined streets of Buttonwood Drive or Sycamore Lane in Rumson, you've enjoyed some of the best this area has to offer. What you might not realize is that all these features were once part of a great private property owned by one family. Welcome to Destinations Past. I'm Chris Brenner. Join us as we travel back in time and explore the Gilded Age estate called Rumson Hill. As the 1800s came to a close, the nation, and especially the greater New York area, were in the throes of the Industrial Revolution. Millions of immigrants moved to the United States, many through Ellis Island and New York City. Factories and infrastructure were in a rapid state of expansion, and fortunes were made as industry grew to enormous heights. New Jersey was right in the middle of this. As New York City overflowed with industry and people, the ports, land, and resources of New Jersey expanded with it. This is the story of how one wealthy attorney and industrialist decided to make Rumson his permanent home and create one of the most iconic estates in New Jersey history. It was just after the end of the Civil War, 1867, in Newark, New Jersey, when Thomas Nesbitt McCarter was born on October 20th. His father, also named Thomas, was a successful attorney with the firm of McCarter and Keene. The younger Thomas went to the finest schools, attending Newark Academy and the Pingree School before becoming a member of the Princeton class of 1888. After Princeton, McCarter studied law at Columbia and Rutgers and joined his father's practice in Newark. Thomas had two older brothers, Robert and Uzal, who also play a role in our story. By 1891, Thomas, along with his brother Robert, were running the firm that would later become McCarter and English, which still operates today. At age 29, McCarter was appointed judge of the First District Court, a seat he held for 3 years. In 1899, he was elected to the state Senate, where he served as majority leader. By 1902, McCarter was working as the general counsel for the Fidelity Trust Company of Newark, building his fortune along the way. At age 35, McCarter was confirmed as Attorney General of New Jersey, appointed by Governor Franklin Murphy. However, after only 1 year on the job, he resigned to take on a potentially more critical role in New Jersey history. Right about this time, the three McCarter brothers decided that Rumson would make a fine spot for their summer residences. The trio purchased 3 homes from what was the start of an early development just south of Rumson Road, near the corner of Buena Vista Avenue. The 3 named homes included the Lindens, a stunning structure facing Rumson Road between Conover Lane and Buena Vista Avenue. This was purchased by Uzal and Jenny McCarter. Just to the west, across Conover Lane, the Tall Trees estate was purchased by Robert McCarter. Thomas then purchased a sprawling home southeast of the Lindens, facing Buena Vista, called Blythewald. This created a family compound of structures and property envious of any of its time. Leithwald sadly suffered extensive damage from a fire in 2015 and was torn down, but the other two homes stand today. The family compound comprised over 200 acres, from Rumson Road all the way to the Shrewsbury River. It was during this period that the McCarters did something somewhat unique for the time. They made Rumson their year-round home. Probably aided by enhanced transportation like ferries, trains, and eventually cars, the idea of commuting from Monmouth County to Newark and Trenton took hold for the first time. The McCarter compound off Rumson Road was the scene of lavish living, complete with entertainment, yachting, polo, and the like. With the massive population boom in New Jersey during this time, there were critical needs for public transportation and other public works projects, such as the newly available electricity distribution network, as well as water and natural gas pipelines. Public Service Corporation was formed in 1903 as a roll-up of hundreds of independent gas, electric, and transportation companies across New Jersey. Many early trolley lines in cities and towns had their own power plants for running streetcars and trolleys, and so it was a natural fit to merge them into a central power company. Public Service Railway Company and Public Service Transportation Company transported millions of passengers on trains, ferries, and streetcars. This massive transportation network would serve as the bones that would later become New Jersey Transit, while the energy side of the company became today's PSE&G. In 1903, then Attorney General Thomas McCarter left the post to become the first president of Public Service, a post he would hold for the next 42 years. He oversaw the merging and managing of almost all the local gas and electric transportation companies in New Jersey, making him one of the most powerful industrialists in the nation. As his career and wealth continued to build, McCarter had eyes for an even larger estate back in Rumson. At the time, Edward Kemp owned a large cut of undeveloped property in the middle of what is now Rumson and parts of Fairhaven. Kemp was an Irish immigrant who came to the U.S. with nothing, but got wealthy initially in the shellac business, and later in a wholesale drug business selling to the Union Army during the Civil War. He owned 500 acres across what is now Rumson and Fairhaven. On the land, he farmed many types of animals, including sheep, cattle, and even a deer sanctuary. He was civilly active, driving for the building of the Oceanic Bridge and the rebuild of the Seabright Bridge. He was a leader in getting Shrewsbury Township to construct Ridge Road, and he was active in many other local endeavors, including paying off the entire debt from the construction of Holy Cross Church. He died in 1900, and his wife Mary went on to sell 421 acres to McCarter in 1905 for $150,000, which is roughly $3.8 million in 2017 dollars. After the purchase of the land from Kemp, McCarter set out to design the most magnificent property in the state. It would include entryways designed for the first time with automobiles as the primary mode of transportation. The land would include stables, barns, formal gardens, swimming pools, a private pond, and water views in multiple directions. McCarter hired architect and builder Warrington G. Lawrence to design the main house, and eventually landscape architects Brindley and Holbrook to craft the grounds. Let's explore what they created during the early years of the 20th century. To define the property, it spanned originally from what is now Willow Street in Fairhaven as its northern border, Fairhaven Road as its western border, and Kemp Avenue as its eastern border. The southern end of the property ran to the Shrewsbury River. However, McCarter sold 213 acres to the Rumson Country Club in 1908 for $75,000 for what is now the club grounds. The club purchased more land from Robert McCarter to put an access road to Buena Vista Avenue, which no longer exists. After contemplating different names for the estate, they settled on Rumson Hill, as the new home was to be built on the highest elevation in the area. Brindley and Holbrook crafted sweeping designs for the land, including several features that still today are enjoyed by residents and visitors. First, a major entrance was created at the corner of Willow Street and Fairhaven Road in Fairhaven, just across the street from the Atlantic Hotel, now known as Nauvoo Grill. Great brick gateposts were constructed opening to a roadway optimized for cars. The first part of the road was carved from dense woods in what is now McCarter Park, also the playground for Sickles School. Once the road left the woods, headed south, the architects planted rows of sycamore trees that lined the driveway as it cut through open meadows with gentle hills and curves. As a scenic feature, a small creek that ran through the property was dammed at the northern end, creating a pond, today known as McCarter Pond. In the winter, blocks of ice would be cut from the pond and stored in the family's ice house for use in the warmer months. As the roadway reached the top of the hill, it approached the newly built Ridge Road, which cut through the McCarter property. Rather than deal with the dangers of an intersection, Brindley and Holbrook designed a beautiful bridge over Ridge Road. This feature would be an area icon until the 1980s. As the driveway approached the house and its porte-cochere, along with a circular turnaround, as well as access to Ridge Road on what is now Sycamore Lane. Entry from the southern end of the property via Rumson Road had an equally impressive experience, with matching brick gates, more rows of sycamore trees, with a slow, winding climb to the house. Formal gardens were laid out on the east side of the road, and they still exist today. There was a third entrance to the land from Fairhaven Road, just north of Rumson Road. Here is where an extensive network of barns, stables, and garages housed the more utilitarian aspects of the estate operations. At least one of the structures still stands today as a private home. Additionally, another group of buildings supported the estate on the Kemp Avenue side between the main house and Rumson Road. The main house itself was a sight to be seen. Made of brick and limestone, the copper-clad and terracotta roof topped off 3 stories of pure luxury. It could be seen for most of the drive up the access roads, building anticipation as one would arrive. It is said that from the upper floors, river views could be had while taking in the wildlife and manicured grounds laid out across the peninsula. Inside, the home was decorated with deep hardwoods and rich fabrics. With outer dimensions of 120 by 69 feet, the house delivered more than 25,000 square feet of living space. High ceilings, wood paneling, handcrafted furniture populated the interior. The home included an elevator, which was pretty high-tech for the day. For roughly the next 25 years, McCarter and his family would enjoy the finest living available in one of the most beautiful locations in the country. No doubt many celebrities and business leaders of the era visited the mansion, as entertaining was popular, especially during the summer months. On McCarter's 78th birthday, he retired from his ventures in 1945. By 1948, the McCarters sold the estate and moved to a smaller, yet still majestic home on Fairhaven Road. In 1951, the McCarters donated the land today known as McCarter Park to the borough of Fairhaven, and it served originally as the town's first memorial park. On the 4th of July of that year, a large flagpole and monument were dedicated to those who served in World War II from the town. The exact location of that pole are unknown, as is the monument. However, another memorial was erected in Memorial Park on River Road to honor the veterans. By 1954, Lawrence Law was living in the home, but had started to subdivide parcels of land from the estate for development. Thomas McCarter passed away in 1955, while the home at Rumson Hill still stood. In 1964, the main house at Rumson Hill was razed, and the story goes that it was so well built that the demolition contractor lost his shirt on the job. Even as the land was being divided and developed, several features of the estate remained. The Brimley and Holbrook designed bridge became a bridge to nowhere, but in many ways became an unofficial entryway to Rumson. During the late 1950s, sections of the estate were sold off to developers for private home construction on roughly half and quarter-acre lots. One-story ranch homes dominated the style on the Fairhaven side as an extended part of the River Oaks neighborhood. The tree-lined Rumson Hill driveway was renamed Buttonwood Drive, as Buttonwood and sycamore trees are interchangeable, and on the Rumson side, the driveway was named Sycamore Lane. On the stretch leading down to Rumson Road, much larger lots with grander homes were constructed. The development continued through the 1960s until all the land was filled, delivering high population growth to Fairhaven. The ranch homes there raised a generation or two of residents, and just now in the 2010s, the area is seeing transformation to larger classic-style structures. Throughout all of this, the bridge over Ridge Road became mostly abandoned. During the 1960s, the emergence of graffiti was sweeping the nation, and even in the bucolic neighborhoods of Rumson and Fairhaven, someone realized that the bridge was a canvas seeking art. About this time, local teenagers started to find their way to the bridge at night, painting messages on both sides of the bridge for passers-by to see. Some messages were personal, expressions of courtship or celebrations of birthdays and milestones. Others were political, a public commentary space during the complicated times of the 1970s. The bridge also became a battleground for the natural rivalry between Rumson Fairhaven High School and Red Bank High School, and later Red Bank Regional. Sporting event bravado was spelled out in purple paint, and in certain years, Red Bank teams would paint messages in maroon, retaliation coming in the form of painting the Red Bank Buccaneer cannons purple and white. Your host can neither confirm nor deny potential participation in such activities, but being an RFH student in the early 80s afforded certain privileges. Painting the bridge became a rite of passage, not really loved, but tolerated by the community. Announcements like dates of the school play, graduation congratulations, and other relevant teen news made the bridge. Technically, the painting was vandalism, and the police did chase away and sometimes catch teens in the act late at night. Overall, however, for a period of roughly 30 years, McCarter's Bridge served as a unique public message board, sometimes messy, but usually relevant. From a traffic perspective, the bridge caused some challenges. The height from the roadway, with its curved underside, presented dangerously low clearance, especially as cars and trucks became wider and taller. Several times, delivery trucks and buses collided with the bridge, and by the late 1980s, there were calls to take the bridge down due to safety. As the structure aged, it also became unstable, and the thought of a potential collapse with teens on it in the middle of the night caused the town to have it removed. In 1988, the structure was taken down, the area was re-landscaped, and today there's barely a trace of its existence. Carter's Pond became a beloved feature of the community. Stocked with fish each spring, many can be found fishing there or just enjoying the view. And in winter, skating is a favorite, almost Currier and Ives-worthy scene. It's hard to imagine what this land looked like back at the turn of the 20th century: rolling hills, open fields, and massive mansions. It's a testament to design of the features of the estate, such as the tree-lined streets, the pond, and the park, on what a special piece of land this really is. The next time you take in one of these features as you move through town, imagine the McCarters in a spectacular automobile, motoring up the long drive to their stately home, a place called Rumson Hill.